When the lockdown started, I bought some woodworking tools. My son asked me to make him a can crusher. I searched the internet and never saw any plans that I really liked, so I took some of the ideas that I saw and drew up some blueprints of my own, and this is the result. It's large enough to crush half-litre cans, and it's strong enough to crush iron brew cans, and we know iron brew's made from girders. This is my first YouTube woodworking video. Some feedback in the comments would be great, good or bad. It's aimed at the beginners like myself, and if you could suggest a project that you would like to see or any changes to the format, that would be appreciated. Please remember to wear all your protective gear. I'm still learning. You can let me know what I'm doing wrong in the comments. The first thing I did was cut the back out of 18mm ply. It's 75 wide, by 320 long. If you work in yards and fathoms, you'll have to convert it yourself. We cut the bottom the same. It's 75mm by 70mm. And the crusher plate is 70 by 65. And the two sides are 85 by 320. I used a stop block attached to the bench so that the two sides were exactly the same length. With all the plywood cut, we start to prepare the sides. First we measure 70 by 70 down and we draw an arc. We cut them both just outside the line with a bandsaw or a jigsaw. And then we use a sander to tidy the edge and take it down to the line. We make a mark at the rounded over end, 60mm down and 45mm in, and we drill this with an 8mm drill. My new router table doesn't have a fence yet, so I used a spirit level clamp to the table. The setup is the fence is to be 50mm away from the centre line of the 8mm bit, and the stop blocks 290 to the left of the centre line and 235 to the right of the centre line, and the side has to be orientated as shown in the photograph. Now the box is ready to assemble. We need a countersunk 2.5mm drill bit and 14 4x30 screws. We now want to rip a bit of wood 40mm wide and at least 35mm thick, and if it's 845mm long it'll do the remainder of the project. We cut the plunger at 160mm and then we rip it so that it's 40mm by 30mm. We drill a hole 20mm down, 20mm in on the plunger with an 8mm drill bit on the 40mm wide side. We then cut the two levers at 220mm. We rip them so that they're 20mm by 40mm, and then we mark them up 25 down and 20 in and 110 down and 20 in, and we drill with an 8mm drill bit on the 40mm wide side on both levers. We then countersink with a 20mm drill bit 8mm deep, the top holes on one side and the middle holes on the other side. Next, mark up the top corners so we can round them over on the sander. Finally, we can mark up the handle. It's 40mm wide by 35mm thick. We want a 45° angle at one end, a 30° angle at the other end, and the total length to be 225mm. Now we attach the arms to the base with two 40mm bolts, two lock nuts and four M8 washers. If you're finding the holes tight for your bolts, widen them a bit with a rasp. But don't tighten the nuts and the bolts just yet. Now we cut 70mm of M8 threaded rod. After the cut, tidy the thread so we can get the nut back on. We attach the crusher plate to the plunger with two 4x30 screws and we position it centrally 10mm back from the front of the plate. Now connect the plunger to the arm with the threaded rod, two washers and lock nuts. If you had a 65mm bolt this would work better, but I didn't have one so I had to use the two lock nuts. You have to glue one lock nut in place so you can tighten the other one against it. I also added a little bit of oil to make it easier. And don't forget to put the washers between the arms and the plunger. Next we insert two 8x50 dowels into the crusher plate. Mark where the dowels will run in the crusher plate. Mark with a centre punch. And make a hole using an 8mm drill. We sand half of the dowel. So that it fits easily in the slot. Then we hammer both dowels into the crusher plate. The handle's attached by 6 4x30 screws, again using a countersunk 2.5mm bit. Make sure the 30° cut's at the bottom. Now we can tighten the top bolts. We have to hold a 13mm socket and a pair of pliers as there's no room for the ratchet. And then we sand the handle. This isn't the best way to do it. I ended up unscrewing the handle and doing it properly. If you're wall mounting your crusher, now you're finished, but if not, we'll fit a base so it can be used in the tabletop. I made my base 170 by 135 and I rounded off the corners. That's the project complete. Let me know how yours turned out in the comments. My next video is going to be on how I made a cardboard and sawdust fire brick press. If you want to see that video, click subscribe and you'll get notified when it's out. Thanks for watching.